I can't believe we have to pay to exist. That's a common complaint I hear every now and then. But why do you have to pay to exist? And is that really such a bad thing? What's the alternative? I'd really like to know. Hey, money isn't perfect, but it's better than the other options, whether it's bartering, communism, or survival of the fittest chaos. But before we get into all that, be sure to give this video a like, comment what you think about all this, subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations, and last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Anyway, getting back on track, here's the history of money, at least in America. So, up until 1971, paper money originally meant receipts for gold, meaning it was way easier to carry than gold lumps. So it used to be based on literal gold, the gold standard, and then Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, and money today depends on trust and system stability. But here's the thing. Gold still has intrinsic value, being rare, durable, and universally desirable, which is why survivalists hoard gold bars. It's always had a floor value, even in collapse. Watch the History Channel documentary drama After Armageddon. And towards the end, there's this guy who asks for the watch of the father of the family that tries to find sanctuary after, well, Armageddon. Again, that's After Armageddon History Channel. But yeah, whether it's based on system stability and trust or the gold standard, money is still better than bartering. When I was in 8th grade, my world history teacher had this analogy, or he told us, I remember him saying, that before money, you would literally lug your goods to market, hoping someone wanted what you had. Imagine today, for a moment, if instead of money, we had a bartering system. I mean, I would not be against being able to trade this random tripod mount light that I have just sitting around, just getting it off my hands and getting something to eat. I don't know. All I know is monetarily, it's probably worth so little that it wouldn't even buy me. What's the cheapest thing I can think of? It probably wouldn't even get me a 99-cent can of Arizona iced tea or whatever other drinks they have that are literally 99 cents printed on there so that the grocery stores can't jack up the prices. But yeah, on a more personal level, when I traded in my amiibos at GameStop last week, as I record this, I had leftover store credit that's on the gift card that I'm holding on to either apply towards something I want, or I could get the Kirby Forgotten Land upgrade pack and DLC if I so choose with what I have left. See, in this setup, okay, yes, I went with trade credit that I applied towards the Switch 2 case that I showed off and the reusable bag that I used to carry it from the GameStop to the mall entrance where my dad picked me up. But imagine for a moment if we lived in a world where instead of me selling those amiibos for cash or store credit, depending on what I felt like, honestly, I'm starting to wonder if maybe I should have gotten cash and then I could have used the rest of it to get something for dinner that night after my first testing of the library. However, in a barter system, I would not have anything left after trading in those amiibos for the Switch 2 case and the bag that I used to carry it back to my dad's car. I would have just had to burn the entire collection for one small item. There would have been no way to even quantify how much how valuable the amiibos were. Here are some of the options we'd have if we didn't have money. Option A, survival of the fittest. Everyone would be scrambling for resources. There would be 24/7 paranoia. You'd be looking over your shoulder a lot. People would be hoarding resources, and they'd be more likely to be defending food or water with violence. Basically, we'd be living in Mad Max if we didn't have money or any sort of measurable way to describe how much value something has, or if we didn't have anything that we could trade for other resources like food and water, like a Switch 2 case, like a Switch 2 itself. Option B would be just straight up communism. And here's the problem with communism, according to my college advisor slash politics and history teacher. The way he put it was through the lens of a dairy farmer. So, in a capitalist system, the farmer saves a sick cow if it gets sick because the dairy farmer has an incentive to restore productivity. Meanwhile, in a communist system, the cow would simply be ended by the system because there is no incentive to save that cow when all the cows are concentrated under the monopoly of the government. To sum up, there is no motivation under communism, and that leads to shortages. Option C would be medieval peasant life. Contrary to what the philosophical gamer said, medieval peasants didn't have it better, and that goes double for Roman slaves. No, they did not have it better. A medieval peasant had to work from 6 a.m. to midnight, according to Tim Pool talking about one of his friends who went to try that the way that quote unquote humans were always meant to live. And they didn't last because they were miserable because they had to work from 6 a.m. to midnight. 18-hour days. I mean, would you rather do that with backbreaking labor for 18 hours, which by the way does not equal freedom? Or would you rather work 8 hours at your 9 to 5, throw in the commute time and anything else, and then when you get home, yes, you don't have a ton of time to do what you want. You're able to go to bed at like 10 p.m. or so, rather than midnight, after spending what it would be 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours watching Netflix or something. I mean, you could still argue that humans weren't meant to live like that, but what is the actual way that human beings were meant to live? Because I bet if we just ditched modern society, I think I've talked about before how without modern medicine, the majority of you watching this video right now would not be here right now. You don't have to love bills, rent, or expenses. But money is a peaceful mediator. It stores value, it facilitates trade, and prevents fights over resources. The alternatives, bartering, communism, or Mad Max survival of the fittest, are all worse. It is the least of all evils. It's far from perfect. But again, bartering, I'd love to be able to just trade this away for something. I don't know, a little snack at the very least. But I also accept that I wouldn't have whatever trade cred I had left if I simply traded the 5 amiibos for the one Switch 2 case and the reusable bag. Communism, again, no incentive for the dairy farmer to save the sick cow, as told by my college politics and history professor. And then survival of the fittest. Do I really need to explain that? All three of those are worse than simply having a monetary system that we use to quantify value and be able to figure out from there. The main point of all of this is that money exists to measure and quantify value, as well as facilitate trade in a civilized way. So instead of just bringing up my amiibos that would be worth almost double what the Switch 2 case costs, I'm able to trade in the amiibos, get $49 in store credit, apply $25 plus tax, $26 plus tax after the reusable bag is factored in, and still have enough on the card so that I can either get a $20 Switch 2 upgrade for a game or apply it towards something else. Like maybe I'll get Donkey Kong Bonanza at long last. Maybe I'll get something else. I don't know. All I know is money is not the enemy. It's a tool that lets society function with less frequent conflict. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here for the video. I'd like the doomers who may have clicked on this video and reached this point to comment, what would you prefer instead of having money or a monetary system? For everyone else, you let me know your thoughts overall. Be sure to give this video a like. Subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. And last, but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord, where we can keep this conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.